Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr.Sarita, and today we are going to do the poem Enterprise by Nissim Ezekiel. Enterprise by Nissim Ezekiel is one of those few Indian poems that have been subjected to a great deal of critical scrutiny. The poem is one of the best poems of Ezekiel. The theme of the poem revolves around a metaphorical journey to a pilgrimage started by some enthusiastic people. The enterprise, though started in high spirit, faced some setbacks in the middle. Finally, when they reach the destination, they doubt the importance of the troublesome journey. They realize its futility and conclude, home is where we have to gather grace. Thus, the narrative poem, Enterprise, delivers a great message. The poem is didactic. The language and form of the poem, we can say that it employs a very simple language, as Nissim Ezekiel's poems generally tend to do. The poem consists of only 6 stanzas of 5 lines each, with a regular rhyme scheme of A, B, A, B, A. And there is nothing extraordinary in the form or language of the poem, the main attraction being in the different interpretations of its meaning. Nissim Ezekiel, as you all know, I already told in the previous video, was born in 1924, died in 2004, was a Mumbai-based Indian Jewish poet, playwright, actor and critic. He is often regarded as the father of modern Indian English poetry. He studied in Mumbai and also in London. His best-known books include Time to Change, The Discovery of India, The Unfinished Man, Hymns in Darkness and Later Day Psalms. He received the Sahitya Academy Award in 1983 and Padma Shri in 1988. Here, now we start with a detailed line-by-line explanation and a commentary on the poem. It started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. It started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. At the very beginning of the poem Enterprise, the poet-speaker confirms that the journey, the main theme of the poem, started as a pilgrimage, having said that it had a noble aim and lofty goal. All the members of the group were excited at the prospect of going out to a pilgrimage. The thought of a holy expedition elevated their minds and made all the burdens light. By the very nature of our minds, when people are enthusiastic, the burdens seem to be lighter. That is why nothing could pose a challenge before them at that moment. Let's go on to the next few lines. The second stage explode but did not test the call. The sun beat down to match our rage. So the poet has divided the journey into stages. The second stage was somewhat different from the first one, since they faced the hostility of the nature on the way. The sun, symbolic of the hostility of nature, was radiating its scorching heat on them as if to match their spirit in intensity. Thus, the second stage gave them some tough moments, but that was not enough to test their keenness. In short, though nature tried to present some obstacles, it hardly succeeded to unnerve them or pose a real threat. One more thing to note here is that for the first time in the poem, the poet has used a first-person pronoun, our, to indicate that he was a part of the group. Moving on to the next few lines. We stood it very well, I thought, observed and put down copious notes on things the peasants sold and bought, the way of serpents and of goats, 3 cities where a sage had taught. The speaker thought that everything went well so far. Especially, they could withstand the outrage of the sun. They also kept themselves busy observing and taking lengthy notes on various things the farmers were selling and buying, and on the ways of snakes and goats. They even observed the three cities where they saw a hermit teach his lessons. In this stanza of the poem Enterprise, the poet has satirically described what they were doing during their journey. He actually indicates to how people get distracted from their main mission. They were wasting their time and energy taking notes on the humdrum aspects of life and on curiosities which were certainly not their aim. Moreover, their concern was rather unimportant things. They observed and took note on the cities without concerning themselves with what the sage had taught or what his message was. Moving on to the next few lines. But when the differences arose on how to cross a desert patch, we lost a friend whose stylish prose was quite the best of all our batch. There came a stage when differences arose in their opinions. Some members did not agree with the others on crossing a patch of the desert on the way. As a result, the best prose writer and intellectual person among them parted from the group. So, we see that a holy journey for a noble cause no longer holds its integrity. People are becoming egoistic and concentrating on trivial matters. Their main concern now is the way, not the ultimate aim. Even the seemingly intellectual did not bother to reconcile the differences and hold the members together. Ironically, he sought the easier way to part from the group. A shadow falls on us and grows. After one friend left the group, a shadow of friction and conflict befalls the enterprise and continues to grow. They now lacked the zeal with which they started the journey. Another phase was reached when we were twice attacked and lost our way. In the next phase of the journey, some local or external forces attacked them on the way. As a result, they lost their way. So it seems that in the quest to save themselves, they did not even bother that they were losing the way. These are also symbolic. We human beings often face the opposition of fellow men on our way of life. Sometimes we lose our way by the hostility or misguidance of others. Moreover, we find ourselves in trouble. We forget the larger perspective and run away to save our narrow interests. A section claimed its liberty to leave the group. A section of the group wanted to free themselves and create a new group. Possibly they were unhappy with the leadership. So the disagreement continues. I tried to pray, our leader said. He smelt the sea. In that situation, the narrator had nothing to do but pray. He prayed that God might solve the issues. The group leader was helpless and tried to assure others by saying that they were near the sea and so the destination was at hand. We noticed nothing as we went, a straggling crowd of little hope. But it was a false hope from the leader. As they progressed, they could see nothing. They now looked like a group of aimless and hopeless wanderers. Ignoring what the thunder meant, deprived of common needs like soap, some were broken, some merely bent. They were too tired to understand what the thunder meant. They were in such dire condition that they were deprived of common needs like soap. Ignoring the thunder may also mean that they ignored what their inner self suggested. They did not have any idea of what was happening around. Seemingly, they were exhausted and lost their faith by now. The entire enterprise was reduced to a motiveless, ritualistic exercise. They were physically drained too, and some members were not able to walk anymore, and the others just bent down with pain. When finally we reached the place, we hardly knew why we were there. After facing a lot of difficulties, when they reached the destination, they wondered why they had been there. They did not find the journey meaningful at all. The trip had darkened every phase. Our deeds were neither great nor rare, home is where we have to gather grace. In these final lines of the poem, the hardship of the journey had darkened everyone's face, but they felt that it was not worth the effort. After reaching there, they found out that there was nothing extraordinary. Moreover, many other groups had reached there earlier, so it was not a rare achievement either. That is why the narrator concluded that they should have stayed at home and tried to gather love and respect of others. Doing good to mankind makes more sense, and it's a better way than going to a pilgrimage to gather God's grace. The poet has been successful in conveying his message through the narrative poem, but as already told, there is a great deal of investigation on what this home may indicate and gather grace may mean, and that is the beauty of the poem Enterprise. Both the journey and the conclusion in the last line of the poem Enterprise are highly metaphorical and draws a lot of critical evaluation. I hope you enjoyed the poem and understood it. Thank you.